All right, friends, we are going to dive into how to digitally hand color an image. So I made a video before this for it's digital hand coloring for Group A, and this is digital hand coloring for Group B. The distinction between the two is Group B has been through 142 where we covered Photoshop. Group A has not. And so this is like a little bit more of an advanced way of hand coloring, and it's a little bit of a better way because you have more control. And so since you students have been through Photoshop, we're going to dive into some of those more advanced ways of hand coloring. So here's my image. It's been put back together. I've decided in mind that I like these kind of like rough edges up in the sky and stuff. So I'm gonna leave those for now. But it's been pieced back together. This photo was ripped and all of that. So it's been pieced back together. I did the spot healing, all that stuff, and it is ready for color. So you can also follow along with the handout for this lecture. First thing I do is I go image mode and I make sure that my image is not in grayscale, it is in RGB color. So when I scanned your images for this photo restoration assignment, I scanned them as 24-bit RGB color, so yours should be good to go, but in case you do need to switch an image, this is how you would do it. So I'm going to hit RGB color, and now we see up in the title, it is the name of the TIFF, RGB8. We are good to go from there. If it's grayscale, it's not going to let you add color to the top of it. So from here, what we're going to do is we are going to pick color fills. So I'm going to go layer, and I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start by painting the sky. So I'm going to go layer, new fill layer, solid color, and in the new layer drop down, it's really important. We don't want to pick normal. We want to go down to color and pick a color fill layer. I know, pretty goofy. And I'm going to actually call it sky, and then hit OK. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the color that I want the sky to be. I would say probably blue, something like that. That's pretty intense. Maybe I'll go. The way these colors work is over to the right, we're talking really saturated. Over here is less saturated. I would be kind of sparing with it, right? I mean, it can get pretty cartoony pretty quick if you go really saturated on every color. So I am just going to go, like that. I think that looks good. I'm gonna hit OK. All right. So I'm gonna show you really quick why we pick color as the mode for this fill layer. So if I go to the drop-down menu here, and if I put it back on normal, that's what we get, right? We get a color fill that you can no longer, it's completely opaque. You can't see any of the image below it. But if we change this to color, we now can see through that blue. So let me zoom in. Okay, so I think that looks great. My sky is a beautiful blue color, but now I want to get everything else not blue, right? I wouldn't want everything to be blue. I just want the sky to be blue. So to do that, I am going to check back in with our most favorite friend in the whole entire world, layer masks. So I'm going to click the layer mask, double click it, hit invert, and you'll see, you can do this either way where you invert it. So what I did is I just inverted the layer mask, which completely blocked it out, right? I could also just go before that, and I could then grab my black paint brush. So let me grab my brush tool, and this is your foreground background color. On my white background layer, or I'm sorry, my white layer mask, I want to paint black. I want to block out everything that I don't want to be blue. So I could slowly start painting out everything I don't want to be blue, and we'll see that my mask starts changing where I am painting black. So the other thing I was going to show you when I inverted it was I could go invert, okay, and then just paint the sky in with white. So you can go either way, whatever you think is the most helpful. I'm going to go this way where I paint the sky in as opposed to paint everything except for the sky out. That's totally up to you, whatever order in which you want to do that. Remember, you can make your brush bigger or smaller with the bracket keys. The right bracket key makes your brush larger. The left bracket key makes your brush smaller. Those can be found right under the plus equal key on the keyboard. So I'm going to make my brush a little smaller, And I'm using a nice soft brush to make it diffused. If you wanted a harder brush, remember you can always change the hardness here. But I'm going to leave it really soft because I want these things to blend really nice. Alright, so I'm doing a pretty kind of like, not the best job in the world. You guys would want to spend more time painting yours in than I am. I'm just going to slowly, I'm getting to be where I want it to be. I'm going to zoom in and make sure I get all these like crevices. And remember that you always, if you overpaint, right, if I paint into the horse, I don't want a blue horse, so I could switch to the black brush and get rid of that. So let's go do that. Let me edit some of this stuff out. I don't want the blue logs here. Okay. And this is another reason why I think that you should pick like not super saturated colors. One, they do have a lot of, I mean, it's very punchy regardless of if it's super saturated or not. Two, if you overpaint, right, with a not saturated color, has a little bit more luminance and it kind of blends a little bit easier. Where if you're dealing with like a really like bright saturated blue, you would really see it in, you know, any of these logs that I overpainted. Where right now I can kind of just clean it up kind of quick here. Okay, I'm gonna go now and just make sure that I got everything looking pretty good. That looks good to me. That looks good to me. Here needs a little love. That looks good. Let's see over here. Sorry, I'm probably making you guys dizzy looking at all this. Not me scrolling around so fast. Okay, that looks pretty good. Once again, I would recommend you guys spend a little bit more time painting in your stuff than I am. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just trying to get her done here. And the last thing I want to do is I have this guy standing on top of the stack of logs. And I want to just make sure that he is, I want to trace around him to make sure that I'm getting everything blue. And then I'm gonna kind of block him out of blue. So I'm gonna just switch my colors back to switch from white to black. You can also do that with a keyboard with an X. So if you look down here, I'm just hitting the X key and it switches between black and white. It's a way to really like do this painting really fast, is just use the keyboard to switch between black and white. So I'm not going to do like a perfect job on him because remember, we are printing these photos relatively small, the size of the originals. And so, you know, if things are a little bit bleeding over, you're not going to really be able to tell too much. Let me get his little tool here. I don't know what this thing is called, but that looks good. Okay, so now if I zoom out, there I have my sky blue. That looks pretty good to me. I actually might try to get up in this corner a little bit more. Oop, wrong brush. So I'm just going to hit X and paint over it again. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Get over here. Now I'm going to, I want to paint the stack of the logs. So I'm going to do that process all over. So I'm going to go layer, new fill layer, solid color. I'm going to call it logs. And I am going to switch the mode to color, just like with the sky. Hit OK. Okay, now I'm going to pick the color. Probably want it to be like, you know, same thing, not super saturated. I'm going to say something like that. Hit OK. Okay, so now if we look, it's this new color layer goes over the top of the sky one. So this one I am going to invert. So to invert, you just you click on the layer. I'm sorry, you double click on the layer and you hit invert. Okay. Okay, so now the log color disappeared and now I have to paint it in with the white paintbrush because look at my layer mask. When I inverted it, it blocks everything out with black. Now I'm going to take my white brush and slowly paint in the logs. And you know, when I was picking this color, it would be easy to say, whoa, that brown was very muted. You know, like maybe that's not, maybe you want a little bit more saturation. But you know, once you see that I'm starting to paint this in, you do see that it is pretty saturated. So a little bit of saturation goes a long way in this process. So I'm just going to slowly kind of paint these guys in. I would once again recommend zoom in and really get in there and get all the details. my demo is not really getting graded like your project is getting graded, so you're going to want to make sure to do a better job than I am doing here. But I just kind of want to show you the quick and dirty here. All right, let me get this. This is looking pretty good. Wonder if this is what this scene really looked like after, you know, same colors or what. Sky probably wasn't that blue. Paint between this guy's legs. These guys. Here. Okay. Oh, there's some logs back here too. I actually have never seen that in this photo. Some more logs back here. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. Left some areas that I messed up here. Okay, that looks good. Now I want to paint the horses. So, same thing. Layer. New adjustment layer. Oh, I'm sorry. New fill layer. Solid color. We're going to make it color. And we're going to say horses. Okay. I'm going to pick my color for my horses. What color do we want our horses to be? Let's see. I don't know. What color are horses? We're going to say something like that. I'm going to invert that. Okay. And then I'm going to, with my white brush, I am going to paint in the horses. I'm not doing the best job. I'm going to zoom in here. Oh, look at my logs. Look how bad that is. I'm going to go back to there, and I'm going to fix that a little bit. I didn't do a good job with the log layer. I'd want to spend way more time on this. So the way that I do it is I do it as well as I can zoomed out, right? And then I would zoom in and like clean up the painting, right? So if there's areas like this, like we can see right here that the log color has bled off into the sky. We wouldn't want that, so I'm going to go and paint it out so that we don't have that kind of sloppiness. Same here. So, you know, it's okay to paint from far away to begin with, but then you'd want to zoom in and really kind of clean it up a bit, because these big areas where color is missing would be totally noticeable in a small print. In any print, it would be noticeable. Get here, hit X. Okay, that looks good. Let me get a couple more things, and I'll be good on this one. So I'm just quickly going through this by just hitting X for black and white in my colors. And it's just a really fast way of kind of painting through this. Okay, so now let's go back to the horses. Right here, I need a little more. Okay, so now let's look at the horses. And remember, if you want to see your mask, you can hit the backslash key, which is right under the delete key, and it can help you visualize where you're painting, right? So I can do this. So I'm just painting kind of everything of the horses. I might want to actually just paint. It's funny how orange or how green that looks with this red mask on. So give me one sec. Let me get this done here. Looks good. Got all this stuff back here. These horses had a heck of a job pulling all those logs. That's insane. Okay, paint this dude. And then I would probably go in, once I have this painted out like this, I would probably go in and I would block out all of these, like, you know, all the reins and I don't know what those things are called. All the things that are not horsehair, I would go and paint out. And block a couple of this stuff in. So I would go and make my brush a little smaller, and I would paint out all of this stuff. For the sake of the demo, I'm not gonna like make you guys watch me paint every little bit of that, but I recommend that you do. Remember, if you overpaint, you just switch to black and clean it up. Keep on painting the wrong color there. Okay, let's pretend that's good enough. I'm going to turn the mask off there. Right, so there's my horses. The other thing that I wanted to show you about this is you can always go in and change the opacity of any one of these layers to kind of bump it down a little bit. So that's really helpful to do. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And you just go through and paint everything that same way. Okay.